So it's only 4 o'clock where you are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my kids are running around the backyard, enjoying the last like 40 minutes of sunlight right now. So
It's so quaint talking to you people in the past.
yes, indeed. I'm just like hoping that nobody like breaks an ankle and I don't like show signs of shock mid presentation or something.
Or swear and run off.
You're like, oh. All right. It's weird because it's showing that Roman does have audio,
Yeah.
not muted.
Okay, we should have had a practice run.
Oh, stream started. Okay.
So tell us about the team that's working on this. You said that there's someone named Zach working on it.
Yep. So Hub, we have 9 people on our team. And right now the lead on the project is a gentleman named Zach. And Zach, I put Zach on for the explorations because his specialty is type. And knowing the direction that you guys want to go, a lot of hand lettering is his background. So he's very much in that side of things. Also helping is Brian, and I don't think any of you have met Brian. Brian is another strategist. So he and I are talking about messaging and naming and things along those lines. And then as we get into the actual explorations, I'll tap a second designer, probably someone who is in on, well, they all have different specialties, but the one I'm thinking of is really great with color. So that will be the working team. And I can have Zach join at some point. He's a very quiet individual. So I'm the talker in the group. But yeah, have you met any of the designers?
I don't think so. Maybe there was, who were you working with the county? Wasn't there a girl, I can't remember her name.
Yeah, so with the county, Faith works with me. She's our social media manager. So she does a lot of our social.
Yeah.
And then McKenna is the designer that did the Carbon Corridor branding. So she also was on some calls if you dropped in and out of those meetings.
I think it was Faith that I met.
Probably, yeah.
But not really. It was just on the computer, you know, like we're talking now.
Exactly, I know. Yeah, Brian, myself, McKenna, and I believe one other team member have been in county and done the touring around and everything. So yeah, lucky we've been there. Do we know where Mallory went? She just off camera.
I think she's on the phone with everyone.
Oh,
trying to help them. Okay.
So they're just downloading Zoom onto another computer, but it's old, and so it's taking a little bit longer, but it's like 60% down.
Okay, we'll just keep chatting.
Okay.
Sounds good. No worries at all. So how did the holiday season go for you guys?
It was quiet for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom, my husband traveled to see his mom, and I traveled to see my mom, both before Christmas. And then we just had a quiet Christmas. Uh-oh, now my phone's ringing. I'll be back.
All right. Oh, Christopher, it's just you and I.
Awesome. So how were your holidays?
Mine were great. We were up on Mount Hood and we had like 18 inches of snow. So it was a lot of snowshoeing and sledding and skiing. How about you?
We were, for the holidays, we were in Park City. My parents have a place up there. And my wife and I live in Helper. And so it's it was nice to get away, but we're very happy to be back.
Do you guys ski?
Yes, mostly cross country these days.
Oh,
Lift tickets. What does a lift ticket go for at Mount Hood?
oh gosh. Depends on the place. I'm a cross country skier. My boys are the downhill, and I think their ski passes were like 800 for a youth, and I want to say it was like, I don't know, 1600 for a adult. No,
For a week?
no, for a season.
Oh, for a season.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like Deer Valley is $230 a day.
Oh, that's a lot. Oh, we got.
So we mostly cross country ski,
Yeah.
and we can cross country ski right here in Helper. So
Really, when I was writing for the website, I was trying to find out about cross country ski trails, and I couldn't really find it. Are there just
Okay, I can hear you now.
no trails or?
Okay,
we
thank you.
don't tell anyone.
Yep, yep.
It's not written in any book, but there's, depending on how the snow is, there are all sorts of wonderful places that you can get off to.
I think they got in.
I've got an MII or Roman, either one. Oh,
Hello.
There they are, MII.
I hope I'm worth all the hard work.
Now, if they can get it
Can you
unmuted.
hear us? Okay, you can hear me?
Let's see if we can hear you guys. Roman and Zach, can you unmute it and do a test run?
I just click on it. All right, can you hear me now, Millie?
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, we are in business. I'll call the meeting to order. Or, yes, I call the meeting to order, yes. We're now in the meeting. And I'll turn it over to Jen.
Great. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen. Will inevitably rearrange all my windows. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Are you seeing my screen now?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. So thank you guys for taking the time to come and join the conversation today. This is our stakeholder meeting, which is just an opportunity to let everybody know about the project and to get some foundational understanding of what your goals and your aspirations are for the meeting. So we're here to do some branding and promotional strategy for you guys. What does that mean? We're working to create a compelling brand that speaks to your target audiences, that derives from your culture, your history, your sense of place, promotes and celebrates what makes your museum unique, enhances the community engagement, and matches the look and feel of downtown Helper. So, what are we doing here today? Let's get started. Our kickoff is an opportunity to refine our understanding and our approach to the project. So we want to discuss and identify opportunities and obstacles that may come up over the course of the project, understand what you guys are offering to your community, defining your who, what, and why, and then starting to outline some goals and objectives for a new identity by exploring who you are, what your key attributes are. So we have a series of little workshop activities that we're going to go through together, hopefully to glean some of this information. So just to kind of put everything out there, our project scope is to create this brand for the museum by identifying and targeting your audiences, defining a visual language, which includes logo, supporting elements, an overall look and feel for the museum, which can be used in your branding and your communications, and then to turn that into a kit of parts, which is all your brand assets and your brand usage guidelines, and then taking that new brand, doing a couple key pieces of collateral that both show you how the strength of your new brand, how it can be used and exist out in the world, and give you a system to use going forward. So this is where we start to pivot into you guys talking to me. I want to know from your perspective, what defines success? Is there such a thing as too much success? Like, is there too much of a good thing? Are there success metrics? How granular will they be? What does success look like? Aspirationally, if somebody looks back and they're like, oh, this did exactly what I wanted it to do, what is that? And because it's always good to lay all the cards on the table, what does failure look like? And what are some challenges to being successful? Does anybody want to share?
Well, I'll just jump in there. We should track and we should see an increase in traffic and revenue from museum related activities, either from donations or through purchases in the gift shop, or if we do memberships, then through an increase in memberships. And that's not the only way that defines success, but I think in terms of the goals that we had stipulated that we would like to see, or the things that from past meetings, I think that those are part of the things that encapsulate that.
And do you have historic data up to this point on membership, donations? Great.
Yes, I have the numbers as far as what we make from donations, what we make from the gift shop, what we make from memberships. So yes, I'm aware of that.
Great.
But don't we also want to look at visitors? They don't have to become members, but we want to look at how many people are coming into the museum. Not just money.
Right, but yeah,
Yeah, I don't
definitely
think the
that's,
financial part really defines it as advertising. I think it needs to be more show. Person, yeah. People local or related.
I would say increased visitors, increased revenue.
Great.
I'd say it's, kind of showcasing the city, having a format where people can come and
Hear you, David.
experience the city.
yeah, and I mean, part of it, so, is the question for the museum as a whole, or is it just for a result of the branding? Or the impact of, because it's sort of limited in terms of what defines success for this project.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I would love to capture both, because I think that branding can help with a lot of things, but it is not a one, a fix-all sort of thing. So I do think that elevating the brand and giving you guys the tools to kind of do some more promotion will help with visitorship and will help with revenue. But also people come to a museum to hear the stories, see the artifacts and all of that. So let's be honest, it's really, it's what you have that also will drive it too.
Well, we do have a lot here in our museum that people have donated, and we do have the history. And when they come in, we tell them the history, because it belongs to Halper City.
Yeah.
The things that Halper do. And we're from Halper, so we can give them the history of it, because we are local. And
Is
we
that
are
Isabel?
getting people in. Our problem is how do we get the people here without having all this so much money, donations and stuff, because we're only allowed to put so much donations in Halper City to begin with.
what's that limit?
I would have to talk to Denise about it, but I know that we're what was the name for that?
Don't know.
I don't think that there's a limit on donations that we can.
We can't hear you.
I don't think there's a limit on donations.
Can I ask a
No,
clarifying?
there isn't a limit on donations. What I'm saying is we can't charge.
Oh,
because-
right, yes.
Yeah, so we can't.
Yeah, we
charge.
don't
So
have
we
an
only have
admission.
donations and we have
Yeah.
like $20 a family or $8 a person. But the thing is that sometimes you're getting families that are come in with 8 kids or whatever. They come to the museum and they're not leaving anything and it's a donation, suggested donation, so they're not leaving money. But then
Yeah,
you do have some people who come in, are really, really excited about seeing the museum. And when they walked out, they'll leave money.
Yeah, so we don't have an admission. We have a suggested donation.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
When it comes to getting visitors to come in, which somebody flagged, is it people are visiting Helper and not coming to the museum, or you want people to come to Helper to the museum? Or both?
Can't hear you, but I think we need more advertisement of people coming in to let them know what we do have in the museum. I had some people today from Price that came in who's lived here all their lives and they just absolutely loved it. And they had no idea of what we've had here. Because of the previous years, we didn't have these rooms finished. Well, these rooms are finished now and we're still working on other rooms. It's just a matter of getting advertisement out there to get these people to come in.
Yeah, I think
what
that's a really good point, is that a lot of our local people here don't even know how great of a museum we have. Or that it's changed so much, or how much improvements have been made, and yeah.
Right. So I think one of the things is using the branding and the plans that we have for the outside of the building is to even attract the people that come to Helper, because a lot of people come to see the town, but might not go into the museum because it doesn't look that great from the outside. And so we have plans of updating the outside of the building to get more people to come in and check us out. So
Yes, but the outside of the building isn't what's keeping people away. What's keeping people away is not knowing what it is that we provide and what we offer. For instance, there's 4 floors, there's over 40 different rooms, and we have items that date all the way back to like 1830, 1840, and that information is not being put out to the locals. Once we get this information out to the locals, then we'll be able to get more people actively involved in coming to the museum.
okay, so I was
Well,
talking about tourists that are just like on their way to Moab. So we were talking about 2 different audiences. And that's one of the things that we've discussed at several meetings, is that we have 2 audiences. We have the locals that we really want to engage, but then we also have people that are on vacation and traveling, and we want them to come in as well. And so we have this dual audience situation.
Well, I think, just making the museum look more like a destination, someplace where you're going to stop, take a look at it. I mean, I kind of what Gary's done with this building I'm in now. I watch it all day long. People hit their brakes when they see-
Louder, David.
People hit their brakes when they see this building. And,
We can't hear you.
And people hit their brakes when they see Gary's building, and it's kind of, like a destination. So if we can have the same effect on the museum and get, people to stop, see what, and the visuals on the outside of the building will kind of explain what's on the inside.
Right.
So what does failure look like then?
Failure looks like nobody coming to the museum on a regular basis. The locals not knowing what it is that we can provide to the community. That, to me, that's failure.
I agree.
Yes.
I think we need to involve more of our community through the schools and let the kids know that we do have things coming up, like January 4th, you know, we have the Utah State Hood, we have the Historical Society, we have the Girl Scouts 110-year anniversary coming up that we're working on to bring people in, but we need more advertisement to get that out there.
Mhm.
I think one of the
Good.
most successful programs we've had since I've been involved in the museum was the chocolate and champagne opening. I mean, and the locals just lined up clear around the block to get in. So I think it's targeting special events
Mhm.
for the locals, such like that we know they like and they'll show up for.
Yeah.
Well, that's certainly part of building a brand. You know, are the events that can be centered around specific exhibits. You know, and so having the museum get involved with the community more, with potentially more talks by people who are familiar with the history of the area. The last one we did was the hobo graffiti or the
Oh.
tramp signs. And, you know, that was actually really interesting. It was a pretty good exhibit. And, you know, I would say that this is going to sound more pessimistic, but what does failure look like? Probably just if we stay in the status quo.
Yeah.
You know, so we need to see a market change in terms of the behavior, and we have to track the behavior where we want to see the change. And, you know, yeah, so failures, unsold museum logo t-shirts in the museum store. It's you know, not people not being curious and stopping by. It's the status quo.
And what is the biggest challenge that you guys see as, let me say, I've heard and I've captured that there's a general lack of awareness around what is in your museum and all that you have to offer. What outside of that are some challenges that you see or that you really would love for us to help address if possible?
I think that if we maybe went to like a quarterly or a theme, something that's going to pull them in maybe every 3 to 4 months, every 3 to 6 months, whatever. But if there was like a specific theme to a specific exhibit that we were showing, because in the past we've done things, but we've either made nothing from it or came out even.
Yeah. Well, let me actually pivot and ask a question on that, which is, if I said you have $1 to spend on repeat visitorship versus new, how would you carve that money up? What percentage would go towards getting somebody back in the museum once they've been in versus bringing somebody new in? You have $1 to spend.
I think we need to get more people in, new people in, because those who have been here are excited and are ready to come back. And if we
Well,
have,
and if
oh, yes,
we get, I'm sorry, I thought I sensed a pause. I apologize. The if we spend all the money to get new people in, we will get more repeat visitors.
I think so.
Yeah,
I
'cause
do.
right now, all the money that we get, that we make, it goes into daily operations. So that's where the money's going.
And ideally, what would change about that?
The more people that comes in with the more revenue, it gives us more opportunity to purchase different things for the gift shop. So instead of, you know, some of the shirts that we have that, you know, were purchased before I got here, we could go to different kind of the items within the gift shop.
Mm-hmm.
We're related to mining. We have a lot of people come in, even with class reunion, people that are looking for the coal little miners, the coal cards and stuff. that we can order into, put in our gift shop.
Hmm.
And we've had some people come in and not just ask about the trains that the kids play with. They actually want trains, you know, and they're expensive.
Yeah, the model trains. Right?
Hmm.
We're missing
So I
you.
think
And I think once we get our trains running, if we can get our little train going in and dropping the quarters and 50 cents in there, you're going to make money with that. But we have to get them running.
That model train running and do an advertisement promotion around it. You know, I think people will come back to see it. It was kind of an attraction when it was running.
Yeah, and I think the mayor's there now at the museum, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, and she had sent us out an email letting us know that she was tracking down some funding for the model train.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
I'm aware of that.
All right.
Cindy, is that
Yeah.
still $5,000 to finish the train?
It's more than that.
It's 20.
It's 20. That's what I'm searching for. And there's a grant that'll be opening up later this month that will, that's what I'm planning to focus it on, is getting that train running.
Any other thoughts on success and failure before we toggle along?
I think one thought that I had was the feedback from the community after we come up with our branding. I can just hear, no matter what we do, there's going to be someone that doesn't like it, and there's going to be someone that absolutely loves it. But hopefully they're more on the love side than the other side. But
You know, if we can get into our school systems, like high school and even junior high and elementary, and let them know the history that we have here in the museum, they can come in and do some tours, you know, and that would bring the children, bring the families in.
yes. And then I would just say, you know, for me, my goal as being on council is for the museum to carry itself. I want the museum to be able to pull in enough revenue to carry itself, which Zach can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe our budget is $62,000 a year. I would love to be able to bring in enough money through, you know, memberships, gift shop sales, and donations to cover that, which would then really help out our city budget, because we really need to be increasing our wages for all of the employees that work for the city, and alleviating $62,000 from the budget, you know, goes a long way in being able to meet that goal. So for me, that's a very important goal, that the museum is able to carry itself.
How close are we to that now?
Not close.
What is the museum bringing in now?
I don't know the exact numbers, but let's put that on the agenda for our next meeting. Yeah. Okay.
So we're just gonna play a fun game. Hopefully it'll be fun. For those of you that participated last time, I will let others take the lead. But we're going to do what we call this, that, or the other. And it's using metaphors. So if you pictured yourself at a party and one of the attendees at the party is your museum the party host, the guest of honor, or the wallflower?
Party host.
Yeah, I want it to be the party host or the guest of honor, not the wallflower.
Excellent.
Well, you know, actuality, the museum could be all three.
Say that again?
I said, in all actuality, the museum could be all three. It could host the party, it could be the guest of honor, and it could be that one individual who sits out and just observes. So,
Excellent.
Guest of honor, I'd say.
Well, let's shift it to the dinner plate. Is the museum sourdough, filet mignon, or apple pie?
Apple pie.
Why?
Why?
Because I think we reflect America. I think people came to our community to live and work in the mines and the rails and trying to make a better life for themselves.
Yeah. If you look at the history of the city and the immigration, I'd have to say the apple pie, because this city was basically made of immigrants.
Mhm.
When it's of different nationalities.
Well, historically, though, that would put us at the sourdough, because the sourdough were the people who were tending for themselves and, you know, had to make do with limited resources. And so the whole thing behind the sourdough and the sourdough starter is that the miners would keep it with them on their person so that they would always be able to make food. Apple pie, in my sense, or the reason why I said apple pie, was because it's more like dessert. It's more social. It can be, you know, it can be breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and it's you know, and it can also be sweet or savory. So there's just more opportunities to tailor it towards the event. Whereas, and it doesn't really, you know, maybe it needs ice cream. Everything else needs a lot more stuff.
That's very true. It stands alone.
Yeah.
Right. And if it were a beverage, milk, lemonade, water.
We're in Utah, so it would be whiskey.
Right, with a measured pour, right?
No, it would be the bottle.
I think water.
I like that.
Yeah.
Change that water to wine.
Water to wine. All right. Well, I think given you're ready for the guardrails to come off, and is there an animal that you think this museum is? If it were an animal, what animal would it be? And
Are there
why?
choices, or are there just 3 blanks?
Just 3 blanks? Fill in the blanks now.
Owl.
Owl.
What did he say, an owl?
Owl.
Why owl?
They're animals that have been around for a very long time. They denote wisdom. They were the symbol of both Athena and Minerva in Greek and Roman mythology. Yeah.
We had said mule.
Is it drink? Just kidding.
You know,
Working mule.
they did use mules in the early 1800s in the coal mines,
Yeah, that's what I had.
And canaries. to save
and the
lives.
canaries to save lives.
Oh, yeah, I like.
But you know, we weren't just mining, we were railroad too.
They used mules on
And-
the railroad.
Yeah.
I like the mule though, because I think you guys were saying that it was sort of, it was common, but it was relied upon. It was strong. It was, you know, it embodied a lot of those characteristics.
That's what we would. But it's not very.
But I also
endearing.
like wisdom. I'm sorry?
I said it's not very endearing, like a puppy or something.
Yeah. What is a more endearing animal that you think would embody the museum?
I don't know.
Oh, I've only got one left. And it's type of vehicle.
Train. That embodies the museum, I would say a train or a coal car.
You're going very literal.
Yeah, well, it's considered the city was named after, you know, trains, assisting trains to get up the point, up to Summit. So I would stick with trains.
Yeah, but that's also literal though. And the, you know, in terms of type of vehicle, you know, the museum, there's an advantage to not being so literal. Like if you were to say a Jeep, for instance, you could reference the terrain that's around here, the utility of a Jeep. sort of the reliability of a Jeep, the no frills, no luxury type aspect of it. It depends on what the hub is going to do with this information, which is why I'm
Mhm.
If you wanted to go that route, then you could possibly look like a mountain bike, you know, because
Yes, tell me why.
this, just because of the scenery that surrounds the museum, the different types of terrain, whether it be in the summer, the winter, the fall, you know, each season brings a new vision.
Even water.
And Christopher is spot on. And the thing that I like about the Jeep is that there's it's recognizable too. And when I think about a museum, I want that recognition of like, ooh, I know what that is. And it has those characteristics of being reliable, accessible, those sorts
in
of
fun.
fun, absolutely fun. So when I think about those attributes that come out of that question, we have, it's like all American, very self-sufficient, a social place, something that's flexible, lots of opportunity, providing wisdom, long-standing, endearing, fun, reliable, no frills, and I'm trying to think of a good word for mountain biking. I don't have one off the top of my head.
Like gritty, like strong.
Yeah,
Endurance. You have to have endurance to.
not pristine, like used. A mountain bike is used, and I like that. Like you want your museum to be well used. All right. Did those attributes, did those words resonate when you think about the museum? Do you think about it being a place of wisdom, endearing, fun, well used?
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
I think there is also a lot of pride here. Love and
Excellent.
pride in our history.
Absolutely.
And you have to remember that everything that's in this museum has been donated from Helper City local
Mhm.
people from our railroad and our mining. And I know he keeps saying I'm saying mining, but you know, we are surrounded about mining. But we also have our kitchen, our stores, our history of
Yes.
our military. I mean, we have people come in and are just really excited to be seeing our military that we honor in here. And these are our people from our town. Our
Mhm.
museum belongs to Helper City, to Helper City's people. And they love it. The ones that have donated have been in. It's just that they're older now, and now we need to bring our younger generation in.
That
I would
is,
say diverse,
thank you.
not just in our cultures, but also in the artifacts that we house in the museum.
And I'm not sure the lady who said this, but I do think a really good aspirational impact for your brand is to attract a younger audience. I mean, to exactly your point, you have a great following of the people who have donated and long supported the museum, but they're older. You do need the school kids, you need the younger generation, you need the young families teaching the next generation to know and love this museum. So I think that that's a really great aspirational goal.
Well, but it's not just about loving the museum, it's having an understanding and loving and being able to love the community more through understanding.
And knowing
So
our
the museum does belong to the community because everything in this museum is donated from our community.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I think that that's a really valid point. And when you talk about what a museum needs to do, it does need to infuse that sense of education and pride of ownership and pride of association, especially when you're talking about building, strengthening, and fostering that sense of community. I may be paraphrasing it a little bit off what you were saying, but I think that's a really important call out.
And when you have people here, you have to have people who have lived in Helper, who know the Helper people, who know their history, who know the education, and know the 27 different languages and people who have been here. I was born and raised in East Carbon. I was going to school, I lived in that with the discrimination where they were separated with the Japanese, the Hispanic, the Italians and stuff. And so you need people who are in the museum that can express this history to these people and let them know.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, so we have 10 minutes. I can run a little bit long. I don't know if anybody else can, but I do want to get through the next section of mood boards. So the goal of a mood board is to evoke a response, either a like or a dislike, to a family of visuals that are presented as a possible direction for the brand. Everything that we've put on these boards, there's 4 of them, is sourced from out in the world, and they're grouped together based on the type, the color, the illustration, the iconography, the pieces that make up the elements. What we want to know as we look at each board is how well it pairs with the way you see the museum. Is this what's important? Sorry, been talking since 8 a.m. What's important is to hear what you like, but almost more importantly, what I want to hear is what you don't like. So this is a narrowed exploration in a lane of visual direction that we've been talking about. I'm going to click through all 4, and then we can click back.
Does everyone see like a low system message across the screen?
Low system.
Low system resources, you don't see that? Maybe that's just on mine. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
that's
it's
your
just on mine.
computer.
Oh,
It
we
looked-
plug
It
in.
looked like it was on your
Oh.
shared screen. Sorry,
No, you probably need to close. Are you on Mac or PC?
PC. I have a lot of things open, so go ahead,
Yes.
ignore that.
All
I'm
right.
okay.
Board 1. Board 2.
Don't
Board
have.
There it is.
3.
Oh.
I'll go through all 4 so you can see what they are, and then we'll go back to 1 and we can talk about each of them. And board 4. Here's all 4 of them in small form.
How do you want us to respond?
Well, let's go back and I want to hear what you like and what you dislike. Board 1.
It's too kitschy. It's of an era in a location that is not Helper.
I agree with that. I don't like that one.
It's very cliche.
Great. Board 2.
I like this one.
What do you like about it?
It is more contemporary than the previous one. It is using typefaces that are more modern, aspects of it that are more modern, but have a tie towards the past. Yeah, that's probably how I would characterize it. It's a little bit more subdued, less flourishy, sort of more to the point.
I like that one too.
What do you like about it?
The train, for one thing. I like the coloring. You know, the dark and then the gray and then the lighter colors. I like that, and there's not a lot of distraction.
Is there stuff you don't like about this board?
Well, I don't like that orange thing.
The Floyds,
Yeah, that's just too distracting.
Okay. Oh, lost my mouse. Board 3. Oh, I can't. If Mallory, if you're talking, I can't hear you.
I'm just talking to David.
Oh,
Sorry.
Does
Since we
anybody else?
input on these.
I don't feel a continuity with those. They're all too different. They don't, I don't know. I don't like
The-
that one.
Yeah, the flourish of this has come back. You've got brighter colors that are not, that are sort of a little bit more garish, but it's the sort of the flourishy. There's a lot of show.
embellishments, yeah. And we don't like that.
I don't like that. I don't know.
I don't like
No, I
that
don't
one
like it.
either.
Anything that you do like on this board?
The train. Just kidding.
Yeah, the train and the Union Pacific sign.
Yeah. that's confusing. Historical Society, I
Yeah.
like that one.
The Historical Society? All right.
We don't have-
And board 4.
No,
No.
no.
It's too much going on.
Too fancy.
There's too
Too
much going
fancy,
on.
too busy.
Great. So I'm gonna go to this page and say, I'm hearing a pretty clear push towards board 2. Yeah?
Yeah,
Yes.
John's? Okay. If we go in this direction, how would you like us to push it? Or pull back, I guess I should say too, and go back to board 2.
And what do you mean by that?
I love it, but I'd love to see a pop of color. Or no, what I like is the charcoal, that rich color palette, so don't mess with that. But some of these are getting a little too fancy or not fancy enough.
I like the charcoal and the grayish white. It's when you start getting the color is where.
Yeah,
in my
like
opinion,
the Floyd's is less so. I like the subdued nature of
I do.
this palette. It's I really like the cleanliness of the type, and with the exception of New York, New Haven, Hartford Railroad, but for the most part, it's all very legible. It's got a good understated design aesthetic. There's a good balance between it's just better balanced than I felt the other boards had. It has a better contrast also.
Yes, it's a very high contrast. Mhm. David, Cindy, Mallory.
Are these the exact same ones that we saw before? No, see, I thought they were different. I was,
Yeah. I kind of like the one, the coloring on this mustache one down on the bottom. Kind of looks like a black on a tan or something like that.
Oh, this one here. Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
there's a little bit of like that beige on the charcoal.
Yeah, it's kind of like burnt paper kind of color. Or, something like that one. I don't mind the Shoremans either, the kind of a charcoal or a deep blue on almost a gold lettering.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not opposed to that. I think I like the ones on this page because they look more like a logo. It's more like a stamp, or you can read it more easily than the other pages. But I think they're up there. They all kind of look the same to me. To be honest with you, and it's just it's all the same kind of genre.
Mhm.
But I like it. I don't dislike it.
Crazy black.
So if I had to pick one, it'd be the mustache one.
Okay.
Yeah, I like how there's a mix of like a regular type and then a more
Mhm. Like a script.
fancy script. Yeah, I like that. I do like, black. I don't think the bright colors really work for us. I like black, obviously coal.
Mhm.
It's, yeah, Cindy?
I'm drawn to the Chicago and Northwestern Railway. I think I like script stuff, but I think a lot of people can't read script anymore.
Mm.
So I want to stay away from that.
Agree.
Sorry, Cindy, this was the one that you were kind of drawn to?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, I like how it has movement, but it's not overly fancy type.
Which one are you talking about right now?
This one right here. I think you can see my,
Oh,
right?
Chicago. Okay.
I like how easy it reads.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I like that about that one.
Yeah. And Cindy, these are different boards. So yes, you're not crazy.
Right. I was completely lost there for a minute. I'm like, how do I not remember?
There are actually, so from the first round of boards, the direction that you like the most, those are peppered in here. So they
Right.
were the start of these boards. Yeah.
Right. I kind of like the Statesman and Friends on the very left, Halifax.
These look like they need like an armature, like a European armature.
Oh my gosh, I'm having such a hard time finding things on this page.
On the very left.
Oh, there it is, right there we go. States
Yeah.
Friends. Yeah, got it. Excellent. Okay. So we are at time. Do people have a hard stop or do we have 5 more minutes?
I'm good.
I can be a little bit longer.
Okay. So
We
the
can go
other,
longer.
the
We
other
can go longer.
Oh, great. Excellent. It's such an awkward medium, this lovely Zoom world that we live in nowadays. So the one other thing that we wanted to talk about is during our last call, we had a starting conversation around the name. Now I know that you guys just renamed, and I think that that is great. I just wanted to take a moment to talk about it if there is the opportunity to talk about it. My one I have 2 kind of concerns about the name, one of which is the apostrophe S. The possessive of helper makes the grammatical usage of your name challenging. So when you're writing about the museum, if you were to write the whole name of the museum, then you're very limited in the using. So you could say the Helpers Mining Museum, it doesn't grammatically work. And then you also lose that hyphenation in any like web URL, social handle, things along those lines. So that possessive is slightly problematic from a usage point of view. And then the other thing is when we were talking about the goals for communicating what type of museum this is, the team reported that the first and foremost, people need to know it's a museum. Second, that it's in Helper. And third, that it's mining and railroad, but also so much more. And I do think that the words mining and railroad have a lot of weight within the museum community. There's a lot of people who seek out that type of museum. But to everybody's point, your collection is immensely diverse. You have exhibits on the hotel rooms, the butcher shop, the veterans, all of this content that
The dentist office, the hat,
is excluded in the current name. So before we build out a whole brand and do the lettering and do all of that, we wanted to open up a can of worms and say, do we want to have a conversation around the name? So,
Oh, it's the
Well, does it
helper.
have to be Helpers? Can we just go with Helper?
yes, you can. You know what? You guys hold all the power. You can do whatever you want.
So did you have some ideas on the name?
Do.
Name it after somebody.
Well, I think we could spend a couple minutes on it.
Okay.
Museum.
So We do think that all the right components are in the name, but the name is very long and museum comes at the very tail end. So I think that there is the opportunity, if you want to change it, you can either just do Helper, or you could do Helper City Museum, the Helper City Museum, Historical Helper Museum, super simple, or the Helper Museum. The strength with these is that you have room to pair it with a tagline. With current name, it's very long, and using a tagline is just too many words. So you could do it, but I don't know that I would recommend it. The shorter the name, the longer the tagline. So you could do something like the Helper Museum, Mines, Rails, and Historic Tales, the Helper Museum, History on Display, the Helper City Museum, Sharing Our Story, Helper City Museum, Railroads, Mines, and more. Not saying that any of these are perfect, but the pairing gives you a lot more flexibility. It gives you a shorthand that you can use on websites and social and other marketing material. It's more inclusive of it being a community museum, a history of your city. So we wanted to have that conversation.
So those are great. Those are great suggestions. Can I comment on them for a second?
Yes.
Like one and the first and the last one are, I think, really good because we get the potential draw of the people who are interested in trains, which based on research that I've done on the web, that is by far the strongest draw.
Yeah.
Mining, there are a lot of mining museums that doesn't have the same cult following as railroads. And the railroads and tales aspect of it lets us be a little bit more folksy and then informal and has a funner atmosphere to it. So those are my thoughts on it.
That's not true. I think the mining does have a lot to do with Helper City, not just the railroad. I know you're railroad
No,
and I'm mining, but I think.
No,
that
I'm
should be
actually both, but the thing about the mining is I was talking about with the railroads, that in terms of, you know, you can buy toy railroad sets.
Yeah.
You can't buy toy mining sets.
Yeah, but with
You can-
that, there are still 4 operational mines that are here between Carbon and Emery County. So mining would have to be included in that. I don't see. how
No,
you
but
could-
I'm not saying railroad over mining. I'm just was pointing out that in terms of cult followings,
Yes.
in terms of leveraging an existing thing, leading with the railroad, even though there's more mining equipment in there, is going to bring more people through the door than mining, just statistically. And
I don't agree with you with
speaking.
that
That's fine.
because
We have more people.
we
that
had
come in.
the steam engines that supplied the coal to get it over, help the Soldier Summits, and that's how we got our name.
I think that there is a
I
differentiation
think
as
I'm
far as
not
the collection.
communicating, but that's all right.
Yeah, I think that the collection and the story is a balance of mining and railroad and a lot of other things. But I think when you look at statistically across the country, the mining doesn't pull in the same visitorship as railroads do. The railroad associations and clubs and all of that are a very powerful industry in this country. So I do think that from a tourism perspective, emphasis on railroads is gonna draw more visitorship. But I do think when you look at your story, it is a complex story and it has to really showcase mining and railroad and everything else. So
Can we see that one, the next slide that has
yeah,
that little
absolutely.
thing?
Yeah, so this was just some pairings that we thought worked really well together.
I kind of liked the Helper Museum because it, you know, basically, you know, you could bring in other exhibits like art exhibits and contemporary exhibits, and it's not limiting us to railroad and mining. I think, you know, we want a museum that represents the city and we want it to be diverse and interesting. So, you know, I think something like the Helper Museum or the Helper City Museum, one of those that's not so specific.
Yeah,
I might just like the word historical, just because we have so much items that have historic value within this museum. So the name that we liked was, if I'm mistaken, let me know, the Historic Helper Museum, you know, and then with the mining rails and historic tales associated with that.
I have, there's a few people in the public that are watching the YouTube stream, and someone just messaged me and said they like the Helper Museum, and that they said that's what people call it anyway already, the Helper Museum. So I just was gonna relay that information.
I like that first one, the Helper Museum, Mines, Rails, and Historic Tales.
It's got a kind of a rhythm that goes with it.
It does. Yeah.
Like a train.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, never mind.
miners, like miners.
That's right.
Like mine.
Exactly. Well, and I don't know that we need to make a final decision here tonight, but I
No,
do
we can't.
like, it sounds like there's some good conversations around shortening the name and adding a tagline and kind of talking about what that could, how that could feel. That's sounding open to explore.
It sounds like the board is open to changing it again, and we can put that on the agenda for our next meeting in February.
All right. That is what I have for us tonight. The last slide is literally like a thank you. I think it just says, yeah, what's next and everything. So thank you guys for staying 12 minutes long. I really do appreciate that. I apologize for all the technical fun that kicked the meeting off tonight. It always happens. Our core team will be meeting, I think, every other week and reviewing progress. So we'll be taking the feedback that we got on the boards, the naming explorations, and doing some sketches. So we'll be moving right along for our next meeting. Any other questions before I let you all go?
No, thank you
No,
very
thank
much.
you.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun. Good job.
Thanks, Jen.
Have a